Persuasion is this, novel written by Jane Austen, and you would think it's a book about people trying to get other people to do things, and, yeah, you'd be right. The main character is this girl, Anne Elliot, and, her family's really rich. Only not really, because they're, losing money, and the dad, Sir Walter, who's, obsessed with himself, is how are we supposed to save money and still look rich? And it's a real problem. They struggle with it for, 50 pages, depending on your edition of the book. Anne's got this older sister, Elizabeth, who's also obsessed with herself, and she's Sir Walter's favorite. And then there's the youngest sister, Mary, who's no one's favorite. Her own husband wanted to marry Anne, but settled for her. Anne is Lady Russell's favorite, who's her dead mom's friend, and they have a plan to cut back on expenses, but Sir Walter's nah, we'll just move to Bath. And so they rent their house out to this dude, Admiral Croft, and his wife. Rather than go to Bath right away, Anne's nah, I'm just gonna stay with Mary and their in-laws, the Musgraves. While she's there, and then all these freaking people show up, there's Louisa and Henrietta, Mary's sisters-in-law, this guy Charles Hayter, who's Mary's husband's cousin, and then Admiral and Mrs. Croft decide they want to visit too, and they bring her brother, Captain Wentworth, who, was engaged to Anne 8 years ago, but she broke it off, and now they've got this dark, mysterious past. And it's all because Lady Russell told her she shouldn't marry him because he didn't have any money. Only now he does have money. But now it looks like he's flirting with Louisa, which is just real confusing. And so everyone just hangs around there for 75 pages, depending on your edition of the book. And then they're I know, let's go to Lyme. And they go visit their friends, Captain Harville and Captain Benwick. And Captain Benwick's really beat up about his wife's death, but Captain Harville's wife's still alive, so he's doing alright. And then this one day they're all hanging out, and long story short, Louisa falls down 3 stairs in this failed attempt to flirt with Captain Wentworth, and she nearly dies. And so Louisa stays with the Harvilles to recover, and Captain Benwick stays with her, and everyone else goes home. So Anne finally goes to Bath, but when she gets there, her cousin Mr. Elliot is visiting, which is surprising because they don't like him, because he was supposed to marry Elizabeth, but he didn't, which kind of sucks because he's gonna inherit all of Sir Walter's crap when he dies, which is really just a lot of mirrors in this big book about himself. But anyway, his wife died, but he's not that beat up about it, and Anne thinks he wants to marry Elizabeth, but plot twist, he actually wants to marry Anne. What is it with all the cousins? Update, Louisa's okay, and now she's engaged to Captain Benwick. So Captain Wentworth's really cool with it, because turns out he didn't really like her anyway, and he just felt really guilty that she nearly died trying to flirt with him, but it's all good. So he goes to Bath, and then he gets really mad because Mr. Elliot's flirting with Anne, so I guess he really does still like her. And this one night, they're all, at the opera or something, and Anne's sitting by Mr. Elliot, and he's I don't understand Italian. What's happening? So she has to translate the whole thing, and it gets so annoying. So during the intermission, she moves to sit closer to Captain Wentworth, only they don't get to talk that much. I guess he actually understands Italian. And then, the next day or something, I don't know, Anne goes to visit Mrs. Smith, who's this widow with a really depressing life, but she seems okay with it, and Mrs. Smith's kind of a gossip, and she's Anne, what's up with you and Mr. Elliot? You like him? And Anne's no. And then Mrs. Smith's good, let me tell you how much he sucks, because he also has a dark, mysterious past, and apparently one of the reasons why her life sucks is because Mr. Elliot convinced her husband to waste all their money, and now she's really poor. And it turns out he's also conspiring against Sir Walter's family, trying to stop him from remarrying this lady, Mrs. Clay, because if they had a son, he'd get to inherit all the crap, and Mr. Elliot wants all the crap. So Anne's well, gee, it's a good thing I didn't like him. So she goes home to tell her family about it, only everyone they know has decided to visit and dropped by unannounced, and Turns out Louise is gonna marry Captain Benwick and Henrietta's gonna marry Charles Hayter, so they're gonna go say yes to the dress. Only Anne doesn't go say yes to the dress. She talks with Captain Harville about women and women's feelings, and Captain Wentworth eavesdrops on the whole thing, and he's like, I knew she still loved me, I better write her a letter. So he writes her a letter, and then they decide they'll get married for real. I mean, if at first you don't succeed, wait 8 years and try again. And then Mr. Elliot runs off with Mrs. Clay. Now she's his mistress. And then Anne and Captain Wentworth help Mrs. Smith get some money. And then they're all really happy. So that's basically the end.